tribal soldiers who think their leader is the new Messiah, and they want the world to know it. 12 days ago, just as the magnitude of the crisis in Iran became apparent, computers inside the North American Air Defense Command in Colorado signaled that the Russians had launched a surprise nuclear attack. It was all a mistake, of course. A practice alert had been mistaken for the real thing. But what if it had been the real thing? What chance of survival do any of us have in case of nuclear attack? Channel 5's Pat Couch asked that question today.
This handbook may be the key to survival for 1.5 million people in Dallas County. It's the Dallas County Crisis Relocation Program, which the president would put into effect in case of a potential nuclear attack.
This meant that the risk areas, the target areas, would start implementing this relocation plan for their area. At the same time, the host areas, these are the rural counties who were supposed to take the populations from these dense population risk areas, they would be preparing to receive these people.
Tarrant County would use a similar evacuation plan, assuming, of course, that civil defense officials received the anticipated 3-day warning prior to a nuclear blast. Authorities say it's very unlikely the U.S. would be the victim of a surprise attack, but it could happen. In that case, there would be a 5 to 30-minute warning for people to get into fallout shelters, either public or private. There are enough shelters in Dallas to provide fallout protection for 1.5 million people. The basement of Dallas City Hall is one of those shelters, but fallout protection is about all the shelters would provide.
Since in the 50s, the federal government stocked these shelters, and since that time, the shelf life of the food has passed. That is no longer in there. The water cans are all corroding. There's very little water in there. The medical kits, much of the drugs and everything are past their shelf life. So basically, at this time, we have very little provisions in these community shelters.
So as it stands now, the government's mass evacuation plan is the best method, perhaps the only chance of survival in the case of a nuclear attack. Pat Couch, Channel 5 Action News, Dallas.
And coming next on Action News tonight, presidential politics in Houston.
Apocalypse Now. Rated R.
Held over at the Village Promenade, Dallas. Cinema 4 Arlington, Western Hills, Fort Worth.